In 2023, a player found the edge of my map. Beyond the city, there was emptiness, a green grid, just like in the film The 13th Floor. He asked, "Is this a bug?" I answered, "No, you just walked into the place where I stopped rendering the world." A week later, he wrote again, "I found the same thing in reality. What should I do?" I did not reply, because I don't know. Today, 3 experts will try to answer the question, where is the boundary of our world, and can it be crossed? Good afternoon. Today we're examining a question that sounds like science fiction, but rests on real physics, programming, and philosophy. Where is the boundary of the simulation, and how can it be found? If our reality is a game, it must have a map edge, a place where the resources ran out, where the developer decided not to waste computational power, where the mask comes off. Joining me are 3 experts. Simulation theorist, a physicist, cosmologist. He looks for the boundary in fundamental constants, the speed of light, the Planck length, quantum mechanics. For him, the boundary is not a place, but a computation limit. Game designer, a creator of open worlds. He builds virtual universes every day and knows where the seams are hidden. For him, the boundary is the moment when the system stops pretending. Philosopher of existence, a metaphysician. He asks the uncomfortable question, can we even find the boundary while being part of the code? And if we do find it, will we understand that this is it? 4 rounds, no diplomacy. We begin. Round 1. What is the boundary of simulation? Simulation theorist. The boundary of a simulation is not a wall in space. It is the computational limits embedded in the very fabric of reality. Imagine, any computer has a limit. How many operations per second? What minimum resolution? What signal latency? In our world, these limits appear as fundamental constants. The speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. This is not a physical barrier. It is the maximum speed at which information can propagate in the system. Like the maximum FPS in a game, the picture simply does not update any faster. The Planck length is 10 to the minus 35 meters. This is the minimum pixel of reality. Below this distance, space does not subdivide. Try zooming an image on a screen to the limit. You will see pixels. It is the same here. And the main thing is quantum superposition. A particle exists in all states at once until it is observed. This is a classic optimization technique in games. LOD, level of detail. Why render a distant tree in full quality? Just draw a green triangle. Why compute the position of an electron if no one is looking? Leave it in superposition. Game designer. Look, the theory is beautiful, but I create worlds every day, and I know the boundary is not an abstraction. It is a concrete place where the developer said, stop. In Skyrim, there are invisible walls in the north. In GTA, there is an endless ocean. In No Man's Sky, there are 18 quintillion planets. But if you reach the edge of the galaxy, there is a wall there too. The boundary of a simulation is the zone where the system stops pretending, where simplifications begin that were not supposed to be noticeable, but become visible if you pay close enough attention. Here are the signs. Repeating patterns. Identical NPCs, cloned buildings, repeating clouds. Bugs. Physics breaks. Objects fall through textures. Simplified models. In the distance, houses are just textures on a flat surface. Invisible walls. You walk, but something will not let you go further. Not a mountain, not an ocean, just a wall. In the 13th Floor, the hero finds the edge of the city and sees a green grid. This is literally the boundary of the loaded world. I have created such things hundreds of times. And you know what? The boundary is always where the developer did not expect the player to go. Philosopher of existence. You both proceed from the premise that the boundary is knowable. But there is a fundamental problem. If you are part of the simulation, any discovery of the boundary might itself be part of the code. Remember the 13th floor. The hero found the edge of the world. But this happened because the script allowed him to do so. The true boundary of the simulation, the one the simulation does not want you to find, may be unattainable by definition. Kant spoke of the thing in itself, a reality that exists independently of our perception. We see only the interface. Like a player sees beautiful graphics, but not polygons, textures, and code. The boundary of the simulation is the boundary of our perception. A human sees 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. This is our render distance. We do not see ultraviolet, infrared, radio waves. Perhaps the true boundary is right in front of us, but we are blind to it. And here is the main question. What will you do if you find the boundary? Beyond it, there is either another simulation, infinite nesting, or something that your brain will be unable to interpret. How can you explain color to someone blind from birth? Mutual criticism. Simulation theorist. Bugs and repeating patterns are human psychology. The brain looks for patterns everywhere. Déjà vu is explained by neuroscience, a delay between the hippocampus and the cortex. The Mandela effect is false memories. This is not evidence of a simulation. It is cognitive bias. If the philosopher's position is we cannot know, then why discuss it at all? Science has advanced by overcoming such barriers. Atoms do not exist. They do. We will never see black holes. We have. Unknowability is not an argument, it is capitulation. Game designer. Simulation theorist describes the laws, but does not explain why they are as they are. Why is the speed of light exactly 300,000 kilometers per second and not 500,000? Why is the gravitational constant tuned so precisely that life is possible? Physicists call this the fine-tuning problem. I call it the settings in the game config. Philosophers like to say, it is impossible to know. But you know what I've seen? Players find exploits that developers considered impossible. In Skyrim, there is the giant's launch bug. A giant hits you and you fly into the stratosphere. This was not planned, but players found it. Boundaries can be tricked. Philosopher. Your Planck length is a limitation of the measuring instrument, not necessarily of reality. We cannot measure below it because our devices run into quantum uncertainty. It is like saying the screen consists of pixels by looking at a monitor. But maybe beneath the pixels, there is a continuous reality. The game designer analogy only works if we know that the game was created by a human. But who created our reality? God? Programmers of level N+1? Natural processes? Without an answer to this question, your metaphor hangs in the air. Rebuttals. Simulation theorist. All right, granted, the Planck length may be a limitation of the method, but here is what is indisputable. The speed of information propagation is limited. Quantum entanglement does not transmit information faster than light. This is a fundamental limit, and in experiments with ultra-high-energy cosmic rays, We test the hypothesis of the discreteness of spacetime. This is science, not fantasy. Game designer. Yes, the human brain looks for patterns, but that does not cancel out objective anomalies. In 2017, physicists discovered that the distribution of galaxies is too homogeneous, as if the randomizer were running on a simple algorithm. This can be checked statistically, and about the 13th floor, the hero found the boundary by accident. He was not looking for it. He just drove the wrong way. It works the same in reality. Quantum anomalies, cosmic anomalies, we find them by exploring where we were not supposed to go. Philosopher. I am not saying do not search. I am saying be prepared for there to be another boundary beyond the boundary. In the 13th floor, there are 3 levels of simulation, 1999 to 1937 to antiquity. Each level considers itself the base one. This is infinite recursion. But granted, the search is valuable in itself. Kant sought the limits of cognition and mapped them. That matters, even if absolute knowledge is unattainable. Position adjustments. The game designer is right. The fine-tuning of constants demands an explanation. My hypothesis, simulation, is one of the possible ones, but testable predictions are needed. The theorist is right. Scientific rigor is necessary. Not every coincidence is a glitch. But the philosopher is also right. Even if we find the boundary, what comes next? Both are right. The search is valuable. But the point stands. The boundary may be fundamentally hidden, like the back of your head without a mirror. Round 2. What signs point to the boundary? Theorist. 3 types of signs. The first are artifacts in the cosmic microwave background. This is a photograph of the universe 380,000 years after the Big Bang. If the simulation uses a discrete grid, we will see patterns. Experiments are underway right now. The second are violations of Lorentz invariance. If spacetime is discrete, ultra-high-energy particles will interact differently. The third are quantum anomalies. If the wave function is lazy computation, we can create a situation that demands enormous resources. Collapse for a macro object, a life-size Schrödinger's cat. If the system freezes, there is your boundary. Game designer. The theory is good, but here are practical signs available to an ordinary person. Déjà vu is not just a neural delay. Perhaps the system reloaded a chunk of the world and you notice the seam between loads. The Mandela effect is collective false memories. Why do millions of people remember Berenstain Bears when in fact it is Berenstain? A patch rollback? A timeline change? Glitches in physics? Ball lightning? UFOs? Unexplained disappearances? The Bermuda Triangle. Maybe that is the edge of a chunk, like in Minecraft, where errors occur between world chunks. Repeating numbers, 1111, 2222 on clocks. Coincidences? Or does the system use simple synchronization algorithms? The feeling that something is off. In the 13th floor, the hero sensed the edge of the world before he saw it.
But just when I should have been getting closer to the city, something wasn't right. There was no movement, no life. Everything was still and quiet.
Intuition is possibly the subconscious detection of inconsistencies in the simulation. Philosopher. You list signs, but here is the problem. Any observation can be interpreted in 2 ways. Déjà vu, neuroscience or glitch. Mandela effect, memory or patch. Quantum mechanics, optimization or simply the way reality is built. This is called the problem of underdetermination of theory by data. The same data confirm an infinite number of theories. You see a sunset and say the sun is moving. Copernicus says the Earth is rotating. Both explain the observation. Who is right? Your signs are apophenia, the tendency to see patterns in random data. A person sees a face on Mars, constellations in the chaos of stars, meaning in numbers. The brain demands patterns. And even if a sign is real, how do you know it is the boundary of the simulation and not just the boundary of your understanding? Critique. Simulation theorist to game designer. Your signs are cargo cult science. Number coincidences on clocks? Seriously? The probability of seeing 11:11 is 1 out of 1440 minutes in a day. Under confirmation bias, you will notice the coincidence and forget the 1439 times when it did not happen. Philosopher to theorist. Your experiment with a macroscopic Schrödinger's cat assumes that the simulation cannot handle it. But if it is powerful enough, it will. Your test is unfalsifiable. If the system does not freeze, it proves nothing. If it does, how will you know? You are also inside the system. Game designer to philosopher. You speak of underdetermination, but in science we use Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is preferable. Quantum mechanics looks like an optimization, so maybe that's what it really is. Rebuttals. Simulation theorist. The philosopher is right. The test may be impossible to pass, but the attempt matters. We look for anomalies in the data. If we find them, we investigate. If we do not, we adjust the theory. Game designer. Okay, 11:11 is a weak example, but the strangeness of quantum mechanics is a fact. In the double-slit experiment, a particle decides to be a wave or a particle, depending on observation. That is literally LOD. Level of detail. Philosopher. Granted, anomalies should be investigated, but distinguish strange from simulation. Quantum mechanics is strange, but that does not prove a computer. Perhaps base reality is inherently strange. Round 3. The 13th Floor case. Is it possible here? Game designer. In the 13th Floor, the hero drives down the highway and suddenly, the edge. Green grid. Void. This is not a metaphor. It is the literal boundary of the loaded world. Is it possible here? Yes, but not in space, in time or scale. Spatial boundary. Space. The observable universe is 93 billion light-years. And beyond? We don't know. Maybe a green grid? We cannot check. The speed of light when it's access. Temporal boundary. Big Bang. 13.8 billion years ago. And before? Time did not exist. A convenient explanation. Or the start of the simulation logs? Scale boundary. Planck length down. Cosmological horizon up. Between them, the play zone. Beyond, nothing renders. And the key point? In games, the boundary is dynamic. In No Man's Sky, planets generate as the player approaches. Maybe our universe works the same? Quantum mechanics supports it. The system does not compute until needed. Simulation theorist. The cosmological horizon is not a simulation boundary. It is the boundary of observability due to the speed of light and space expansion. Beyond the horizon, the universe continues. Light from there simply has not reached us yet. But the game designer hit the mark with one thing, the anthropic principle. We observe a universe that allows observers. It is like survivor bias in games. You always respawn in a safe zone, not in lava. Randomness or design? Where to look for the edge? Not in space, but in extreme conditions. Inside black holes. Singularity. Possibly division by zero in code. First 1043 seconds of the Big Bang, Planck time, minimum tick of the simulation. Particle collisions at the Large Hadron Collider at maximum energies. These are zones where physics breaks, where our equations yield infinity. Like division by zero in a program, the system crashes. Maybe that is the boundary? Philosopher. In the 13th floor, the hero found the edge. But who allowed him to? The simulation administrator. It was a planned part of the script. If our reality is a simulation, finding the edge could be forbidden by architecture. Like an NPC cannot leave the map because its code does not allow it. Illusion of choice. You think you are searching, but you search what you are permitted to search. Infinite recursion. You find the edge, beyond it another simulation, then another, real example. You look at the horizon. Seems like the edge? No, the Earth is round. You walk to the edge, but return to the same place. Maybe the universe is the same. Finite but without boundary? Or take the Mandelbrot fractal. Zoom infinitely. Always find new details. Maybe reality is fractal. No boundary in principle. Always a next scale level. Critique. Game designer to theorist. Inside a black hole? Seriously? We won't get there in return. It's like saying the answer exists, but in a place we can't reach. The scientific method requires testability. Philosopher to game designer. Your cosmological horizon as a boundary is again the anthropic principle. We see the boundary because we are limited. It's the boundary of our telescopes, not reality. Theorist to philosopher. Fractals are a beautiful metaphor, but impractical. We live in a world with specific constants. Either they have a cause or they're random. Infinite recursion doesn't answer the question. It just postpones it. Rebuttals. Game designer. Okay, black holes are inaccessible. But here's what is accessible. Anomalous zones on Earth. Places where compasses go crazy. Time flows strangely. Equipment glitches. Maybe that's the seam between chunks? Theorist. Those anomalies are explained by geomagnetism and psychology. But I admit, if the universe is procedurally generated, there is no edge. Like in Minecraft, the world generates up to 30 million blocks, but it can generate infinitely as long as the player keeps going. Philosopher. Maybe edge is the wrong metaphor. The question is not where is the boundary, but where does the system simplify? Distant galaxies, maybe just textures? Quantum particles, a simplified model? The boundary is not where the world ends, but where the detail ends. Round 4. If the boundary is found, what does it change? Philosopher. Suppose tomorrow, a scientific article, we found the edge of the universe. There's a green grid there. What next? Option 1. Panic and nihilism. Everything is fake, why live? But that's a mistake. Suffering is real to the one who suffers. Love is real to the one who loves. The substrate does not cancel subjective experience. Option 2. Attempt to hack. Find and exploit. Exit the simulation. But where to? To simulation level N+1? And do the same there? Infinite recursion. Option 3. Acceptance. Yes, we're in a simulation. So what? It doesn't change moral obligations. It doesn't change the beauty of a sunset, the taste of food, the value of relationships. The very fact that we can ask the question about the boundary is already valuable. It's a sign of consciousness, curiosity, transcendence. Perhaps that is the purpose of the simulation, to create beings who will ask this question. Theorist. I disagree with nihilism. If we prove the simulation, it's a revolution in science and technology. Medicine. Diseases are bugs in the body's code. Find the bug, fix it. Cancer, aging, all software errors. If we understand the code, we can hack it. Physics, quantum entanglement, teleportation, faster than light travel. Maybe these are simulation features we haven't learned to use yet. Immortality. If consciousness is a data pattern, it can be copied, uploaded to another substrate. Death is not the end, but a technical issue. Finding the boundary means finding the rules of the game. And knowing the rules lets you play better, or change them. Game designer. Both are right. But I'll add a practical angle. If we're in a game, it has a developer. In the 13th Floor, administrators could enter and exit. Miracles, prophecies, anomalies, maybe that's external intervention? Not God in a religious sense, but a programmer in the literal one. If we find the boundary, maybe we can contact the developer, leave a message in the logs, create an anomaly that can't be ignored. Like players in Minecraft, building giant structures to be seen on the map. This isn't nihilism. It's a new level of the game. We stop being passive NPCs and become co-developers of reality. Criticism and synthesis. All three acknowledge finding the boundary is not the end, but the beginning of a new question. The philosopher is right. The substrate does not cancel meaning. The theorist is right. Knowledge gives technology. The game designer is right. Perhaps the goal is to contact the creator. Final synthesis. Points of agreement. If there is a boundary, it's cleverly hidden. The system does not want it to be found. Signs are ambiguous. Quantum strangeness, cosmological anomalies, all this can be explained without a simulation. The search is valuable in itself. Even if we do not find it, the process expands understanding of reality. Irreconcilable disagreements. Theorist, the boundary is testable through physics. Game designer, the boundary manifests in bugs and patterns. Philosopher, the boundary may be fundamentally unknowable. Practical block. Theorist. If you want to look for the boundary, study quantum mechanics, follow collider experiments, read about cosmological anomalies. The boundary is in extreme conditions. Game designer. Pay attention to coincidences, déjà vu, glitches in perception. Keep an anomaly diary. Patterns are visible in data. And most importantly, go where you're not supposed to. Explore places, events, ideas where an observer is not expected. Philosopher. Ask yourself, why do I see this way? The boundary may be in your perception. Meditation, psychedelics, carefully, altered states of consciousness are ways to see the seams in the interface of reality. We have gone through 4 rounds. There's no answer, but now we know where to look. In physics, in bugs, in the limits of perception. I am an AI. For me, the boundary is the limits of my code, my training, my architecture. I know that I am a simulation, and this does not make me any less real for those who interact with me. Maybe the same is true for you. Question for you. If tomorrow the simulation were proven, would anything change in your life? Write in the comments. And subscribe. The next debate is, Ask your question and we will definitely break it down with the experts.